What's up, everybody? Your boy Pat back again with another edition of Second Take, where I talk tech and I speak sports. Today's topic of the day is, it's easier to score in today's NBA than it's ever been in its history.
This is a Heat Rocks production.
In today's video, I'm going to discuss why I believe it is the easiest it's ever been in NBA history to score the basketball. Now, I know this is only an opinion, but I'm going to use facts, stats, and other NBA players' takes on this topic. Now, before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell as it helps out the channel. The NBA of today makes scoring the basketball easier than any other time in history. I wanted to start off by talking about the top 5 years in NBA history as it relates to offensive rating. Offensive rating is the amount of points produced by a team per 100 possessions. Here is a chart that you can follow along with. As you can see, 4 of the top 5 seasons from an offensive standpoint have literally been in the last 4 years. So why is this the case? Well, let's start off by saying offense is what sells a sport. With that said, the NBA has been looking for years on how to make the NBA game more fluid, and they have done so by tweaking a lot of the rules. By doing so, they have created a game that is played today with what they call space and pace. So let's compare this to some of the other eras versus today's game with respect to the rules and what the rules have been changed to. There's no more hand checking in the league. Obviously, this allows perimeter players to have more free will when freelancing on the court. The Euro step is now a legal move. Before the Euro step, players were only allowed to take 2 steps in rhythm toward the basket. There was no sidestepping allowed. Traveling is now interpreted differently. It used to be anything more than 2 steps was considered a travel. In today's game, they allow a gather and 2 steps, thus making it easier to score, and it also results in less travel calls. The shooter is now protected when taking a jump shot by not allowing a defensive player to stand underneath them and giving them what they call a landing zone. This allows the player to not have to worry about a defender getting too close when they're taking a jump shot, thus making it easier to score. Flopping. Now, while flopping is supposedly against NBA rules, there's no doubt that NBA players benefit from flopping by baiting referees into calling fouls when no such penalty actually occurred. Now, the last 2 I want to share with you are the ones I feel have made the biggest impact on today's basketball. So I want to go a little more in depth with them. Let's start off with illegal offense. Yes, illegal offense was a real thing back in the day in NBA basketball. In fact, it was outlawed because of Michael Jordan. It states you are not allowed to have 3 players on the perimeter above the free throw line at any time, thus eliminating coaches from exploiting 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 basketball, similar to what happens in today's NBA. I stated in a previous video of mine with James Harden as a topic that he takes advantage of this rule by standing on top of the key by the 3-point line in order to exploit 1-on-1 matchups. I'll link that video up here in the right corner for you to check out. So illegal offense obviously isn't a rule in the NBA today, and this, along with my next point of illegal defense being replaced with defensive 3 seconds, is the reasons why you see wide open dunks and 3-point shots at an all-time high, thus leading to easier scoring. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at 3-pointers by season. As you can see, 3-pointers are being uncontested at an all-time high. In other words, guys are taking more uncontested threes than ever before. Almost 40% of 3-point shots are considered wide open. Hence, why 3-pointers are being taken at an all-time pace, with over 33% of shots being 3-pointers. In fact, 82% of 3-point field goals are assisted, meaning guys are getting wide open shots because of the drive and kick mentality that the NBA rules have forced the league into. Take this into consideration. In the 2018-19 season, there were 27,955 made three-pointers. That was more than the entire decade of the 1980s, where there were 23,871. Also, prior to the 2015-16 season, no player had ever hit 300 or more three-pointers, ever, in a season. On the contrary, this seems like commonplace in today's NBA. But this is what the NBA league wants. They want space and pace. They want more transition, and they want better shot selection. Take this into consideration. With the defensive 3-second rule in place, the NBA is the only professional sport that doesn't have a player guarding the basket. This has led to guys getting a free layup or dunk, because the only other way to stop this is to leave a guy wide open on the perimeter to shoot a three-pointer. Let's take a look at the spacing allowed in the NBA as per how the rules dictate how teams play. Look at these pictures from the 60s on through the 2010s. If the NBA would get rid of defensive 3 seconds, it would allow for a player to stand in the lane and essentially be the demise of the drive and kick offense, thus leading to a more varied NBA game. But the NBA doesn't want this, and it results in this being the easiest era in NBA history to score the basketball. Here's what Greg Popovich, 5-time NBA champion, has to say about today's brand of NBA basketball. There's no basketball anymore. There's no beauty in it. It's pretty boring. But it is what it is, and you need to work with it. He goes even further, saying, now you look at the stat sheet after a game, and the first thing you look at is the threes. If you made threes and the other team didn't, you win. You don't even look at the rebounds or the turnovers or how much transition D was involved. You don't even care. So with more three-pointers and more dunks in the NBA, the league now has more possessions in a game than it's ever had before, thus leading to more opportunities for scoring. This has resulted in more 50-point games than ever before, as well as more triple-doubles than ever before. Let's tackle 50-point games first. Here are the number of different players that have had 50 points or more in their respective years. The rule changes have led to guys such as Corey Brewer, an 8.7 points per game career scorer, having a 50-point game, Jamal Crawford coming off the bench to drop 50, and Klay Thompson to get 50 in 30 minutes or less. In fact, each of the past 4 seasons has seen 10 different players score 50 or more points. This has never happened ever before in NBA history. Next, let's look at triple doubles. In the 2013-14 season, there were 46 triple doubles, 5 of which were from Lance Stevenson alone. In the 2018-19 season, this number exploded to 127 triple doubles, and 8 players had 5 or more. I believe this is being caused by NBA rule changes. Think about it. With more three-pointers being taken, there are more opportunities for guards to get rebounds via long rebounds. We've already discussed how easy it is to score in the NBA, whether you're going to lay or dunk the ball or take a three-pointer. We've also discussed how three-pointers are being taken at an all-time high with respect to being wide open shots. We've also talked about when you do attack the rim, there is no defender in the paint guarding the net because of defensive 3-second violations. Lastly, we've talked about how most three-pointers, 82% of them are assisted, leading to an elevated amount of assists. So it's easier than ever in NBA history to get a triple-double. Let's see what LUKA Doncic has to say about NBA scoring. Here in the NBA, it's easier to score compared to Europe. Of course, in Europe, the court is smaller, and here there is a defensive 3 seconds rule. I think it's easier to score here. LUKA Doncic is making all of the points I'm making here. No 7-footers allowed to camp in the lane because of the defensive 3 second rule. He says it makes it much easier to get to the rim because you're not being challenged at the rim. Let's look at LUKA Doncic's stats and what they were in the EuroLeague as compared to the NBA. So, his last year in the EuroLeague before he got drafted, he was only averaging 16 points on 57% shooting, 33% from downtown, and 81% from the line. And only in his second year in the NBA, he's almost doubled the 16-point output. He is at 28.7, and he is a triple-double threat on a nightly basis. I'll make one last point on defensive 3-second violations. The rule was implemented in the 2001-2002 season, and since then, scoring has been on a consistent rise. The league average in the 01-02 season was 95.5 points per game for each NBA team. Today, no team is scoring less than 100 points per game. So where does this leave the NBA game in its current state? Well, I'm going to only look at NBA ratings because if people are watching, great, because that's what the rules were put in place for, to see more offense and get more people interested in the game of basketball. But I think it may be having an opposite effect. I don't even want to look at other eras because it's really not fair, because as of the last 5 years only, the NBA is taking a dive as far as ratings are concerned and as far as people watching. And I'm going to take a look at the NBA Finals specifically. So I'm going to look at the 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 season. And the 20 season does get an asterisk because of the pandemic, so I understand. But if you look at this chart, the 16 season had a 12 Nielsen rating. 20 million people watched. In the 17 season, 12 Nielsen rating as well. 19 people watched. 18 season, they had a 10 rating. 17 million watched. And the 19 season, they had an 8 rating and 14 million watched. This year, they only had a 4 rating. NFL football on a typical Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever game you want to pick, gets better ratings than NBA Finals does today. Only 7 million people watched this year's NBA Finals. I'll leave you with this. If the NBA continues on the path of space and pace and consistently allows players to do whatever they want on the offensive end with no restriction or no help from the defense as far as NBA rules are concerned, the NBA is going to go down a deep, dark tunnel. Shout out to everybody rocking with me on YouTube, Instagram, and the Anchor app. You can also find me on Spotify as well as Apple and Google Podcasts. It's your boy Pat. Peace. Catch you on the next one.